Hello, this is David Gottfried, and I'm going to try to vindicate the Soviet Union and Russia. And in part, I'm going to try to do this by citing a mostly forgotten and very important article in the October 11th, 1938 issue of the New York Times. And now let me start at the beginning of this essay. The presidency of Donald Trump and his infamous relationship with Vladimir Putin has made many politicians and members of the media incite animosity toward Russia. Although I detest Putin and Trump, the Western media is following in the steps of Senator Joe McCarthy, polluting the political discourse with half-truths, obfuscations, and omitting any mention of the historical context. Now, in the Soviet Union, the history and legacy of Leon Trotsky was buried by Stalin and his political progeny. However, something very similar took place in the West. The West has given itself a lobotomy with respect to the 1930s and 1940s. More specifically, the West has buried its history of aiding and abetting Adolf Hitler. By burying history, the media successfully depicts communism as a secular sort of Satanism. But let me get specific real fast. Many people cite as the strongest evidence of Stalin's supposedly malignant nature the August 1939 non-aggression pact between Germany and Russia. Russia had, of course, been Nazi Germany's greatest foe. However, benighted Westerners don't know that this non-aggression pact was largely predicted, and that analysts reasoned that the Soviet Union, alarmed at the West's lackadaisical attitude toward Hitler's annexation of territory east of Germany, might seek to preempt Germany might seek to preempt Neville Chamberlain at his game of appeasement. I refer you to an article in the New York Times written on October 11th, 1938. Walter Duranty wrote that because the West kept permitting Hitler to take territory east of Germany, it seemed that Chamberlain had made an agreement with Hitler to permit Hitler to advance east to destroy communism, which both Hitler and British aristocrats hated. Duranty said that Russia might be so alarmed by Chamberlain's facilitation of Germany's lunge to the east that it might try to preempt Chamberlain at the appeasement game. After the West sat silently while Hitler engorged himself on Bohemia, Moravia, Memel, and the Polish corridor after having taken the Sudetenland, the Duranty thesis was proven correct. But this knowledge has been thoroughly excised from curriculums in the West. Now, I must concede that after the war, Durante was disparaged as just being a red. But many progressives were castigated as Soviet agents or of being premature anti-fascists. And even if Durante had been a Soviet agent, that does not tarnish his political analysis, because Chamberlain consistently yielded to Adolf Hitler. Now let me fast forward to the present. We are told that today's Russia is aggressive. The talking heads of the mass media leave out 2 salient issues and 5 salient sub-issues. A, the eastern border of NATO moved about 1,000 miles to the east since the Berlin Wall fell. Formerly, the NATO extended to the border between West Germany and East Germany. Now, all of East Germany, Poland, and the Baltic states are in NATO. The West is pointing toward St. Petersburg, Kaliningrad, and Petrograd in a manner reminiscent of Hitler's panzer divisions. Russia lost 20 million people in World War II. It has every justification for alarm and anger at the West's lunge to the East. B, the West's exaltation of Ukraine is odious and rests on a suppression of history. 1, the Crimea was taken by Russia in about 2014, but A, most of the Crimea is ethnically Russia. B, Crimea was gifted to Ukraine by Russia in the early 50s, but at that time, Ukraine was a part of the Russian-dominated Soviet Union, and so this gift did not extinguish Crimea's special affinity and ties to Russia. 2, Russian separatists are fighting in the eastern part of Ukraine, but the eastern part of Ukraine is mostly Eastern Orthodox in its religion, as are the Russians, and the Eastern Ukrainians have a special affinity with Russia. The western part of the Ukraine is mostly Roman Catholic. Roman Catholics, incidentally, have slaughtered members of the Eastern Orthodox Church since as far back as the time of the Teutonic Knights. 3, the Ukraine was one of the most rabidly pro-Nazi regimes in the 30s and the 40s. Right-wing groups in Ukraine and in other European states have fashioned flags with designs that recall the swastika. And many Ukrainian nationalists are descendants of reactionary pro-Nazi Ukrainian forces from World War II. There is so much more that I would like to mention, but I have been advised that my videos are too long. And so now I must say goodbye, and again, this has been David Godfrey.